Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Baking Journal. Today we are making these fabulous pumpkin cupcakes with this very cute pumpkin design on top. I'm going to show you exactly how it's done. Without further ado, let's get started.
I'm preparing a cupcake pan with paper liners. I picked green to complement the pumpkin design.
Before we start on the batter, I wanted to share that this episode is produced with support from Edible Ohio Valley. Edible Ohio Valley is a quarterly magazine dedicated to the people who grow, raise, and produce food close to us. Their link is in the description below. Now, let's get started.
Mix together all of the dry ingredients, including my favorite, nutmeg.
I know I've said it before, but there is nothing like the smell of freshly grated nutmeg.
Then set it aside. In a separate bowl, combine brown sugar, granulated sugar, vegetable oil, eggs, and pumpkin puree. Give it a good mix and then add in your dry ingredients.
I love recipes where we don't need a mixer. We can do this all by hand, easy peasy. Our batter looks great. And so now we're just going to scoop it into our cupcake liners. The recipe calls for 10. It's not often that I get exactly what the recipe calls for. Here's our 10 cupcakes ready to go in the oven. I'm going to put them in a 350-degree oven for about 20 minutes or so.
I'm using buttercream icing that I've split into 3 bowls to make our pumpkin design. We need orange icing for the pumpkin, brown for the stem, and green for the leaves.
Now that I have my colors looking the way I want them to, we're going to fill our bags. And I have a little tip that I learned the hard way, but I'm just taking some smaller bags here and I'm gonna fill those, and then I'm going to insert them into a larger bag that has my actual tip. We're just gonna start filling our smaller bags. And oh, by the way, if you can see, yeah, I really did color these myself. Also, and I think if you've seen me do this before, you know that, I put them in a jar, a mason jar, or a tall cup, whatever you got, because then it makes it way easier to get your icing in the bag. I'm not fighting with the bag itself. So let's put this one aside, and now we're gonna go to our next color. Look at this green. Green's always my favorite. Isn't that a pretty color?
After you get the icing in the bag, press it down as far as you can and go on to your next color. Don't worry if the icing is only halfway down the bag.
Now I'm gonna put these into our larger bags. So before I do that, just wanna make sure I cut off the tip of the bag, and then that air in there allows me to push it further down. Get all my icing down. And this is for our stem. So I actually put a coupler on this bag because it's going to be our stem, the brown, but then it's also going to be a little curly Q. So we're going to switch out our tip. And for this, I just have an open star. For our pumpkin, I'm just using a fairly large round tip. And it goes. And last but not least, our little leaves for our pumpkins. And that is just a little leaf tip that I've got on here. And there we have it. Our cupcakes are nice and cool, and it is time to get our creative side out because we're gonna make some pumpkins. So we're gonna start with our orange icing with our large round tip, and all we're gonna do is go around in a circle. This is just to give our pumpkin a little height, so it doesn't have to be perfect, but we're just gonna make a ring all the way around. And then, starting from the base of your cupcake upward, we're just gonna take our icing and with steady pressure, take it to the center. Don't worry about it being kind of up or flat in the center because we're going to scoop some of that out anyway. That is for our stem. And so we're just going to go all the way around. Now we're gonna scoop a little bit extra icing here out of our center. And now with our brown icing that has a star tip, we're just gonna go in the center here of our cupcake. And with some firm pressure, we're just gonna squeeze, and then bring it up and gently release, trying to like bring our little stem over. You know how pumpkin their stems can kind of be twisty and to the side. I think that looks good. So we're gonna take our green icing with our leaf tip, and then I'm gonna squeeze, but I'm also gonna gently go back and forth, which gives us a little bit of a definition in our leaf. And hey, this is pretty cute all by itself, but you know how some of those pumpkins have little curlicues? We're gonna add a little curlicue with our brown icing. And to do that, we're gonna switch our tip. Remember, that's why I said I put a coupler on this bag so that we can easily switch our tips. And this is just a small round tip. I'm gonna put that on here. And then we're just gonna add, now all I'm gonna do to add the little curlicue is just go kind of circular, gently. And so we squeeze and we move the bag around and around and around. And there we have a little curlicue. Look at that really darling pumpkin. I'm gonna do the rest and we'll come back when they're all iced up. So what do you guys think? Does it look like a pumpkin? I know it smells like pumpkin and I can't wait to give it a taste. Let's dig in. Oh my goodness, the pumpkin cupcake is moist, it's tender, it's filled with those warming spices of ginger and cinnamon, and then top it off with the creaminess and the sweetness of the icing. It is absolutely delicious. This is the perfect cupcake for the fall, for winter, really any time of the year. I hope you give it a try. If you've enjoyed this video, make sure you give me a like, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you again soon on another episode of the Baking Journal.